What is going on, guys? My name is Sena and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to play and master Jett. As a Radiant Jett main who's been playing Jett for almost 3 years now, I feel like I have a really good understanding of how her util should be used properly. This includes how to be aggressive with her utility, how to grant yourself the biggest advantage in a fight/situation with your utility, and also how to use it defensively. If you guys want to learn how to truly master Jett, I suggest that you guys stick around to the end of the video so you don't miss anything. Right before we get into the video though, guys, I want to take a moment to introduce you and thank Valorant Tracker for sponsoring this video. Valorant Tracker is a companion tool used by millions of players to track your in-game stats and progress. You can look at your KD, win percentage, headshot percentage, win rate on certain maps, headshot percentage with certain guns, and much more. If you've been playing Valorant for a long time, after you download Valorant Tracker, you can go back and look at your old stats and see how much you've improved as a player. You can see your stats from each act and compare them to one another. Not only this, but there's a huge library of lineups and guides for every single agent in the game that is constantly being updated. Now you're probably thinking that an app like this probably costs a monthly fee or it's pretty expensive, but Valorant Tracker is actually 100% free to download and use, and you don't have to pay a single penny to get access to all of these awesome tools. So what are you waiting for? Go down in the description or in the pinned comment and click my link to download Valorant Tracker today. Thank you again to Valorant Tracker for sponsoring this video, and with all of that being said, guys, let's get right into the video. Now, the first and most important thing to understand as a Jett player is what your job is in a round. As Jett, your job is to create space for your team. Now, I'm sure you've heard that being said a million times, but what does it mean to actually create space and do it well? If you're executing a site and you don't have a Jett entering for you, it's going to be really hard to not get mowed down as you all funnel out through one choke point. This would mean that you have to entry off of a flash, or you'd have to split the site through 2 choke points to stop the funneling. With Jett, however, though, when you dash out onto site into your smoke, you are creating a threat and presence directly on site that the enemies now have to focus their attention towards. This makes it 10 times easier for your team to get out on site without all getting mowed down because they're funneling through the choke point. If you pair this entry with a Sova Dart or Fade Eye and a flash, you'll have an insanely easy time getting those picks on site. Okay, cool. We understand our job as Jett. It's to get us on site and take the enemy's attention away from your team to help make it easier to take that space on site. The thing is about entrying though is you want to get creative about it. If you entry the same way on site every single round, it'll become really easy to punish and won't actually help your team that much. This is where my first tip comes in, and that is get comfortable adding variety into your entry style. Just to make a quick example, on Ascent, you can just dash in onto front site or front gen if you want, but what I actually like to do is to updraft dash on top of generator and peek out of the smoke to look for a pick. Slightly changing the way that you entry every round can really help throw off the enemy team and give your team a bigger advantage on executing on that site. Another extremely important point about entering is to make sure that you check left and right close corners when you dash out. As you dash out, it's important to quickly check the close left and right by swinging your camera around quickly. Even if you don't see the enemy with your own eyes, as long as your character model is looking in their direction, it'll pop up on the radar for all of your teammates to see and clear them out. I don't see enough Jett players doing this, so I think that this is super important to start implementing into your entries. And my biggest tip for entering is to just get creative with the way that you like to entry, because there are so many ways that you can do it. It's not a one size fits all kind of thing. As long as you're getting out on site and taking the enemy's attention away from the choke point while also clearing the close angles and getting picks for your team, you are doing your job as Jett. Now, I want to move on and talk a little bit about Jett's smokes and what you could actually do with these smokes because they're super useful. As we're all aware of, smokes are one of the most useful pieces of utility in Valorant, and Jett is able to throw them down in the snap of a finger. One thing that I love using these smokes for is opening doors on certain maps. For example, on Fracture, I'll play sand, and when I hear them running up, I'll toss a smoke through the door and open it, giving me a free line of sight for some free kills. kills. This works extremely well and will always catch the enemies off guard. It works even better if you have another teammate in A main to peek off of your contact, and you guys will absolutely annihilate the enemy team. On bind, I love throwing my smoke through the TP right as I go through because the door will instantly open and catch everyone standing in front of Hookah off guard. It's so fast and they won't be able to flick or react to you in time before you're able to kill them. Another great use for Jett Smokes is to hide from recon darts or to block off Sova darts. If you know that Sova is throwing a dart B long, for example, on bind, what you could actually do is toss a smoke on the dart and it won't scan anybody, but the dart will still be up, so Sova will think that that line of sight is clear. This is really good for playing mind games and taking fast space. As long as Sova doesn't hear this smoke go up, it should catch him extremely off guard. If you don't know where the recon dart is, but you know that there is one, you could actually just toss a smoke on yourself, and the smoke will last the entire duration of the dart and you will be safe from the scan. The third way that you can use your Jett Smokes to your advantage is to stick the defuse. If you're retaking a site and the bomb is down, you could actually toss a smoke on the bomb and get it to halfway. Whenever I'm retaking a site as Jett, I'm always the one throwing the smoke on the bomb and getting that defuse going. A mistake that a lot of Jett players make is when they're retaking a site, instead of sticking bomb, they're just fighting. Your smokes are one of the best utility that you can use to get that bomb defused in retake, so make sure that you're using them for that purpose. A fourth and final way that I really like using these smokes is to actually cut off lines of sight when I'm taking multiple fights. If I'm retaking B on Fracture, for example, and I'm coming out of Gen, I'll actually just toss a smoke to my right to block off Arcade so that I could swing and check close Gen and scale up onto site. Just using these smokes to isolate fights and isolate 1v1s is such a helpful way of using them. Remember that the name of the game for Valorant is to isolate those 1v1s and take those 1v1s without fighting multiple players, and Jett is just an all-around great agent for doing so. Moving on from this, my next tip to mastering Jett is to learn how to use the operator and start opping in your games. Getting an op going on your team can completely turn around the way that a game is going. The way you can instantly get a first blood and dash out without taking a scratch is what makes Jett such an OP character for using the operator. I have an opping guide on my channel, so I'd recommend that you guys check that out if you don't know how to op, but learning how to use this gun is one of the biggest things that have made me so much of a better Jett player. A lot of people think the op takes no skill and it's an elo cannon or whatever people say, but the op actually isn't as easy to use as you might think, and it actually takes a lot of good positioning and good reads on the enemy team to be used effectively. So make sure you guys perfect your opping skills and you will win a lot more games with Jett, I promise you. My next tip for you Jett players is to start using your passive ability. If you guys didn't already know, Jett is the only agent in Valorant that has a passive ability. This passive is her ability to float around when she's falling. With this floating ability, in the buy round, you could actually get on top of certain boxes and not waste an updraft. For example, on Haven, you can go from Heaven to the default box, and from there you can jump on any of the other boxes without using an updraft at all. Same thing on Bind, where you could actually hover from Heaven all the way to top truck and get up on top of this angle without having to burn an updraft. This lets you save money and keep more updrafts for later in the round while also getting good positions to post up on. You can also avoid all fall damage with this passive ability, so it's really easy to take risky angles and fall back without taking any damage. The fifth and final tip that I have for you guys on mastering Jett is to abuse her movement when you're using her ult. Jett ult is incredibly powerful, and it's incredibly powerful because you are 100% accurate at all times. There is no first bullet accuracy that you have to worry about, and you could be flying everywhere and still have your shots go 100% accurate. I see so many new Jett players pop their ult and just stand still while they're taking a fight. This is a huge mistake, and it's super important to constantly be strafing left and right, jumping, even updrafting or dashing with your ult, because you can take so many aggressive fights that players won't be ready for, and you will be ready for because you don't have to worry about accuracy at all. This makes it really easy easy to be hyper aggressive with your ult, and I love using this ult to take fights that I normally wouldn't with a rifle. I recommend you guys go in the range and pop the Jett ult and practice using it on the bots. There's not really too many good ways to practice the Jett ult, so using it in the range is, in my opinion, one of the best ways that you can go about perfecting it as of right now. And I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in this video. In this video, I gave you guys 5 tips on how to master Jett and what I've learned from my years of grinding with Jett. Just to recap what we talked about in today's video, the first tip is to get comfortable doing different variations in your entry. We also talked about why it's important to check left and right and the purpose of entering with Jett. The second tip taught you guys how to use your smokes more effectively in different situations that you can pop these smokes to give yourself the biggest advantage. The third tip is to start Oping and learning how to abuse the operator in your games because it's one of Jett's strongest weapons that she can use. The fourth tip taught us about Jett's passive ability and how to use her float to avoid fall damage and also getting in areas that you usually wouldn't be able to without an updraft. And finally, the fifth tip told us about Jett's ult and how to use it more effectively by abusing the movement and constantly staying on your feet while taking fights with it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to drop a like down below and also subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I love you guys. You guys are truly the best. You've changed my life, and I just cannot thank you guys enough for all of the support that you guys have given me. You all mean the world to me, and I wish nothing but the best for all of you, and I want to see each and every single one of you improve. Not only in Valorant, but also become successful in your life in whatever you want to do, and that you live a happy and fulfilled life. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day or night to watch this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.
I got stacks, I got racks, yeah. Moving through the mall with all types of bags, yeah. He gon' end up leaving with a toe tag. One slide move and I got her mad. Okay, she be saying we a lot. I don't speak French. All my latest fits could probably pick up fire.